Buckle up, everyone, because today we have a ton of new miniatures to take a look at, plus the One Ring card has been found. All this and more in this week's Hobby News. I'm Angela, you're watching Hobby Night. Now let's get to this. Let's go ahead and start diving straight into all of the new miniatures that were revealed from Games Workshop over the weekend. Because if you had not heard, they had a not Warhammer 40k preview focusing on a lot of their other brands, and there were a lot of really exciting miniatures in this. So I figured we'd go through the trailers. That way, if you didn't happen to catch my watch along, which was at a very early time in the morning, so I don't blame you. Thanks for that, GW. We can go ahead and go over them now. Let's start with what we were getting from Age of Sigmar with this trailer. Do you really like the look of all of these new Cities of Sigmar miniatures, especially those knights? Oh my god! Ooh, I don't remember that one specifically. These guys look really cool. With the guy with the squire. Now this was the big reveal. We have a brand new leader character who's on a freaking manticore. Like, look how stunning that is. So the big reveal is we have a brand new army starter box for Cities of Sigmar. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at exactly what we're getting in the box set, because I think it's a pretty good box set. This is pretty typical for Games Workshop at this point, especially when it comes to them doing army boxes, both on the Age of Sigmar side as well as the Warhammer 40k side. I think they tend to get a pretty good mix of miniatures that everybody is wanting, and in this case, we're getting a ton of them. Of course, we have seen a lot of these miniatures over the last couple of months because they've been revealing them. We've seen all of these before, but this particular one is new, and I do think this particular model is going to be ripe for kit bashing. I just think it's a really cool design. I love the leather work, but the real big reveal was the manticore. So let's go ahead and skim past our beautiful knights who do look lovely, but we have seen them all before, although let's just appreciate this lad right here, this lad right there. Oh my god, so good. But the real big reveal was this lady on her manticore. This is Talia Verda, and she has a majestic beast to ride upon, and I want her. I love what Games Workshop has been doing with these models. I really think that with all of the detail work they've been putting in to a lot of these new Cities of Sigmar models, it's very reminiscent of what I remember of Empire back in the day and just the old world back in the day. And I really like seeing that here because I'm hoping that maybe you can end up using some of these Cities of Sigmar models in the old world to represent the Empire, since I don't think they're actually going to be producing more Empire models because Cities of Sigmar exists, which is a little bit of a shame, but at least I feel like they're getting the vibe correct. And the manticore just looks stunning. I want to paint those wings so bad. I just have to compliment the artist who did paint this, because the work that they did on this, I want this model so bad just because of how cool that paint job looks. But this isn't the only thing we had revealed at this event. No. There were tons of other things. So let's go ahead and move on to the next preview. We've got something up for Warhammer Horus Heresy. So not 40k, we're in 30k. Let's go ahead and watch. The new knight models that they've been showing, because this is like the third set of knights, I believe, or we've had one before at least, and these are now two more. I think these are looking really cool. Now, these are models that were originally Forge World models. So they were in resin, they were previously available, but now they're being printed in glorious plastic, which is really, I think, the biggest deal about these particular miniatures and why people are so excited about them. It does, however, make me mildly concerned for Forge World, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. Want to continue to bask in how just stunning these miniatures look. They are very tall and lanky though, aren't they? Like, I don't know. I think I like it. I think I really like it, but I was kind of expecting them to be a bit chunkier. Maybe just have like larger armor plates, but it's very interesting. I like them a lot. Now, the thing I want to talk about when it comes to Forge World, because obviously these are currently available through Forge World, but in resin, until they become available through Games Workshop, in which case they'll be available in plastic. And I do wonder, are we going to see the entire Forge World line eventually converted over into plastic because of the new Horus Heresy game? Or are we going to continue to just get these sort of one-offs, maybe the more popular models from Forge World turned into plastic, and then the rest remain resin? But at the same time, that makes me go, well, Games Workshop, that seems like you're cutting the legs out from under Forge World if you're taking all of their most popular models and going, hey, we know you guys don't like resin that much, so we're just gonna convert all these into plastic. I don't know, it feels a little weird, and while I am super excited for these, I do mildly have concerns for the designers and the teams that work at Forge World, and I'd love to know your thoughts below. But we need to move on as well to the next preview, because good lord, they did not stop. Next up, we have a preview from Warcry. Wow, Cruel Boys. I love it. I love seeing the orcs, and I think the thing that excited people the most, it definitely excited me a lot outside of our main boy, are all of the baboons. Or baboons? Yeah, the baboons. Oh my gosh, they are so good. They look so ferocious, which is totally legit of real baboons, from my understanding, like IRL. But the fact that they've added them in, they're with the orcs, I think works perfectly, and the models are absolutely stunning. Let's take a look at some of these models, because no, it's there we go. Let's zoom in a little bit, because I actually think they're very glorious. Now, I have to say one thing. On the stream, when this model first came up, it does not look like an egg that he's carrying there. It looks like something completely different to me. And I was like, is that a goblin holding a nutsack? What is happening here, Games Workshop? And then me and Chad just had a good laugh about it. It was fantastic, but I'm really excited for this particular set. Warcry is one of those systems that I have not delved that much into. I think I bought like one of the OG starter sets, and then maybe one random other starter set, and then a couple of the earliest expansions when I thought that I would be collecting more of a Chaos Force, and then I haven't really dived back into it. But now that we're actually starting to get a little bit more of like the orcs and various other factions being represented, and it's not just purely a Chaos game, I'm a lot more intrigued, and this particular set might be one that I pick up. Now, with Warcry out of the way, let's move over to Underworlds, because we got some cute, adorable little rat boys to take a look at, and I want to watch this preview with you. I do love Skaven, but I will admit, these are not my most favorite of the Skaven. I definitely prefer the like gutter runners, because I really like when they're using their tails to throw knives and other weapons. And while the monks are very cool and totally fit with my love of plague and pestilence, I'm not as fond of them being so heavily robed, because I feel like it obscures their cute little rat bodies. Although the pattern work that they did on these particular models in the paint job, really, really nicely done. And they look great as like a complete set. I will say this, the Weird Howl Underworld sets are doing a lot more for me than some of the other previous ones, because they were just, I don't know, the last one just did not do that much for me. So like I said, we've got a variety of new rats. I think they're super cute. I think the little boy is my favorite, and I'm really surprised that we don't get, I want at some point, and I don't know if this, I guess there's rat ogres and everything, but I want like a very fat giant version of this small guy in miniature form, because I think that'd just be very cute. And Underworlds is known for having a lot of small animal creatures in their sets, so I just think that'd be a way for Games Workshop to introduce this one-off model of a rat to just make me personally very happy. But I do really enjoy these figures. They just aren't my favorite, because again, I am not as fond of the heavily robed rats. I really like when they're using their tails a little bit more and a little bit more dynamic poses. But overall, pretty pleased with this announcement. Now, the last thing that we have to do before we talk about the biggest reveal at the Not Warhammer 40k reveal is what we're getting from the old world. And I think this is actually my biggest disappointment, not because the model at all is bad by any means, but we only got one of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at the one model we got revealed for the old world. Now it is a beautiful, beautiful, stunning looking, once we get past this text, of course, Bretonnian knight, and we all know how I love the Bretonnians, but we only got to take a look at one. And I was really hoping for like a Tomb King model at least as well. Like I was hoping for one Bretonnian, maybe one Tomb King, and there's a missed opportunity on this particular banner boy. if you look at his base, the horse has a lovely tactical rock. I think they'll pan. Yeah, see how he's standing there on a lovely tactical rock? I'll show you again in more detail in a moment. That could have been a chest of a Tomb King. Why was that not a Tomb King's body? Why was this rock not him crushing Cetra the, imperishable? Why was it not him? I don't, it doesn't even have to be Cetra, because obviously Cetra's not, well, I think he might be dead. I think he might be a Sigmar, Stormcast Eternal, actually. Is Cetra in a Stormcast Eternal body? I don't know now. No, this is Old World, so it wouldn't matter. We're not in Age of Sigmar. My brain is all sorts of confused. My point is, that rock could have been the chest of a Tomb King, and the fact that they didn't, I feel like it's a missed opportunity, and it would have at least satisfied me seeing a little bit of Tomb Kings and a little bit of Bretonnians. But alas, this is the one boy that we got to take a look at. He is very lovely, and there is some fun opportunity for the banner, because you might notice that it is not a raised banner. Like, the edges are, those are embossed, but the interior is just a flat surface, free for you to work on and do whatever you want. And I was actually talking with my patrons recently, or possibly with somebody on Instagram, I can't remember now. I was talking with somebody about stencils for doing pattern work on banners, and I've never tried that before. So that might be something that's in the future, once the Old World is out and we have our Bretonnians, I might pick one up and try that out on a live stream or as part of a video. I haven't decided yet, but I think it'd be really fun to explore doing stencils and using that as a way to accomplish some freehand on a large banner like this, because I've never done that before and it just would be super, super cool. All right, let's now talk about the main event for the Not Warhammer 40k preview, and that was the announcement of the return to Epic. Now, they're not calling it Epic, they're calling it Warhammer Horus Heresy Legions Imperialis, but let's go ahead and take a look at the trailer, because I think as soon as you watch it, you'll realize, nah, this is definitely Epic, just set in the 31st millennium. I love everything about this. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very excited for this game to come out, because look at how cute the tanks are. They're so tiny. They're so tiny, and I want them, and I just really want to paint them. My entire time we were watching the stream, I was squealing during this whole thing, because at first I actually didn't realize it was Epic. And then it dawned on me and I freaked out, and then we just stared at all of the beautiful, glorious, tiny little miniatures, and it made me really, really, really happy. So, as you can see, brand new Legions Imperialis, aka Warhammer 40k, or not Warhammer 40k, Warhammer Epic. Now, the reason they're putting this on here is because it's not 40k, which is a little bit of a shame, because that means if you did have any of the old models from the old Warhammer Epic games, you may not be able to use any of your Xenoforces, and to me that is a little bit of a missed opportunity on Games Workshop's part. However, just look at how cool and adorably small all of these miniatures are, and we don't even get really that good of a scale because we don't have standard miniatures next to them, but I do think this is going to be just a delight to paint. I don't know, do they zoom? Yes, okay, they do zoom in. Look at how cute they are. They're so tiny. They have actually quite a bit of detail on them, which I think is one of the things that I'm most excited about. And what is fantastic is if you do have anything from Titanicus or Aeronautica Imperialis, which might be appropriate for the 30k era of Warhammer, then the scale is going to be the same and you should be able to use those models in this game, which I think is just honestly a really nice touch. Again, missed opportunity from Games Workshop when it comes to not being able to use the old Epic miniatures, which I think did include at minimum some Eldar, I believe, but you don't really, I want to see orcs and I want to see Tyranids in tiny, tiny miniature form. Do you not think that would just be so adorable? I do. Also, what's adorable are these just beautiful, beautiful Terminators. They're so smushed, but I love them, and I'm really excited for this game. Now, we also got to take a look at some other miniatures, like the Potato Dreadnoughts, which just are perfect. This is genuinely a scaled down version of the new Dreadnought in plastic that we have for Horus Heresy, and I love it. But the tanks are where my heart belongs to, because they are precious. I want to weather them. I've really been on a tank kick, obviously, if you guys have not realized this, and I just think these all look stunning. And then of course we have our human faction in the game, which also looks really cool. And I actually think I like these more than I do the Space Marines. I think the level of detail that they managed to capture on them, I don't know if it's the color palette that they used or if it is just literally the detail, but I feel like they're a little bit more readable. They're a little less derp, and I love the faces. Look, they actually sculpted faces into those, and these things are gonna be so tiny. The challenge of painting them is gonna be so much fun. I'm very much looking forward to it. Also, there's just so many miniatures. We just keep scrolling down, and I keep finding even more tanks to be delighted by. Gosh darn it. Also, the walkers are super cute. Really, I'm super pumped for this. Let me know down in the comments whether you are pumped for this as well, and what you are most excited for from the not Warhammer 40k preview that we've just gone over. Now let's go ahead and talk about something that is definitively Warhammer 40k. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump into the video real quick to remind you to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications so that you never miss any of the hobby content that we make here on the channel. We had the announcement of 3 new starter sets for Warhammer 40k 10th edition over the weekend alongside the not Warhammer 40k preview, and I just wanted to watch the little trailer to go over them and show you what you might be able to get your hands on if you happen to miss Leviathan. Actually have not watched this trailer yet. They really like to use footage from those animation scenes that they got, and I don't blame them. It is really cool, but I do think it's important to showcase the boxes themselves, Games Workshop, and maybe the miniatures that come in them. The introductory set does have paints. That is pretty cool. Everything to get you started. Now, the starter set, I think, is the one that is the most intriguing to me personally. Because from my understanding, what this is going to end up including is basically both the Tyranids and the Space Marine combat patrol boxes, which is pretty cool, alongside a board and everything you need, again, to get yourself started playing the game. Finally, we have our super fancy box for the starter set, and if you miss Leviathan, this is probably the one I would get, if you miss Leviathan. But if you didn't miss Leviathan, then I think it's completely skippable. And I'm gonna go over with you why. Because I think these are kind of interesting. Now, Games Workshop does these starter sets every time that they have a new edition come out. I forgot the word edition for a moment, sorry about that. So they do these starter sets every time they have a new edition. And the 8th edition starter sets, I thought were actually phenomenal. The 9th edition starter sets, I thought were also pretty darn good, especially if you were collecting the opposition force to the Space Marines that were included in both box sets. Specifically, I'm talking about the Death Guard and the Necrons. I think the units that you got in each of the 3 different starter sets that came in those older editions were very good for army building if you were brand new to the game or just brand new to those armies and you wanted to get a good force built up. And I'm not sure as of right now that I feel quite the same about the 9th edition starter sets. Now, I do love that the very basic introductory starter set comes with a variety of tools as well as paints to get you started with the hobby. That way, if you're kind of doing this sort of casually and you want to really ease yourself in, you can. But the number of models that you're getting in this is a little bit weird to me. I totally get the 5 Space Marines. That makes sense. I even get the 10 Gaunts. That also makes sense. But why the heck are you only getting 1 Ripper Swarm in this? Like, you have to run those guys in units of 3, and in Leviathan, you got 2. Holy shit, I just realized they actually might have done this so that people who bought Leviathan will buy this to get the 3rd Ripper Swarm. And if that is the tactic, I don't like it. That is not cool, Games Workshop. But, like, legitimately, that's the only reason I can think of why they would give you just 1 of this base when it's meant to, in the game, be run as 3. It must have some sort of thing that is key to teaching the game, maybe tied to it. I haven't specifically looked into it, but it's a really weird choice. Now, the one that I am most interested in, and the one that I will probably be most likely to actually pick up, as I mentioned during the trailer, is the just basic starter set. This comes with a nice board to help get your mat laid out so you can start playing, and it comes with the combat patrol forces for both the Space Marines and the Tyranids, and I do think that particular combat force is a decent value for new Tyranid players, or at least that's my hope because I want to be able to pick this up. But when it comes to the ultimate starter set, unless you absolutely missed Leviathan, or you are just a massive, massive fan and collector of Imperial terrain, I don't know if this starter set is ultimately going to be worthwhile, because the only thing that it comes with in addition to what you would get in the basic starter set, the one we just looked at above, which comes with the 2 combat patrols, is the terrain and an addition of the core rulebook. Well, if you bought Leviathan, you've already got the core rulebook, you're not going to need another one. And frankly, I am incredibly disappointed with the terrain that they used. I don't know, do we get it? We don't get a close-up, so let me just zoom in a little bit. I know it'll be a little bit pixely, but like, I'm really disappointed with this because all you're getting are a bunch of walls and one what looks like little bunker, and it's all Imperial themed. Games Workshop, this would have been a perfect opportunity to get collectors to buy this, even if they had already bought Leviathan. If you had simply made that terrain infected with something Tyranid growing on it. Like, I am so over Imperial terrain coming out from Games Workshop. They have done so much of it. It has become so redundant. And while these are very nice walls, I'm not saying that they aren't, I just think it would have been so much cooler to have like Tyranid tentacles growing up around the bases of them, corrupting them, and actually making it look like, you know, the Tyranids are doing the thing that they are supposed to canonically do by turning the entire planet into biomass and consuming it for the hive. I don't know, I just feel like there's a missed opportunity here when it comes to basically all terrain and it not being enough Xeno or even chaos themed. They just don't do enough of it, and I think it's a hugely missed opportunity. But outside of that, I do think that at least this starter set might be worth it if you did not get Leviathan. If you didn't pick up Leviathan, then yes, even with the lackluster terrain, I do think the ultimate starter set would be a nice purchase, especially if you were specifically wanting to have a copy of the core rulebook, because it does come with one. But that is just my opinion on it. Let me know, are you going to be picking up any of these starter sets? I want to talk next about a brand new star player for Blood Bowl, because I absolutely love Blood Bowl, and just look at the skeleton's hat. It's not a hat, it's a helmet, but I don't care, it is majestic. It has the largest bat wings I've seen, and it's so reminiscent to me of the Night Lords, and it makes me just want Games Workshop to give me more Night Lords. I also was reading this article and looking into the lore of this particular character, Ivan the Animal Death Shroud, and he has a hatred of dwarves, which immediately made me think of a really funny scenario that you could end up writing about if you were running an undead team. Imagine this. You have an undead Blood Bowl team. You have picked up Ivan, but you've also picked up Skrull, Half Height, the undead dwarf that was announced, I think like a year ago or so. Imagine putting them on the same team together, and then in the lore, as you're writing your little write-ups about the game, which is something that I think is super cool and love seeing done, and I love when leagues especially do it, but you as the player, as the coach, could blame all of your bad rolls and everything that went wrong on the fact that these two characters hate each other, or at least Ivan hates the dwarf because he's a dwarf. And then over time, especially if you have like a glorious comeback and end up winning a lot more games, you can have this narrative that they've overcome his hatred and they've joined a beautiful friendship. And that idea just really stuck with me, and I needed to talk about it and share with you what I thought was a pretty awesome Blood Bowl mini. Like, he's not even that dynamic, but his outfit does so much for me, along with the lore. I really want to get him and the dwarf and just really play this scenario out in my head in real life. I think it would be amazing. The precious has been found. The One Ring card from the Lord of the Rings Collector's Edition set that just recently released has officially been pulled. And as you can see on screen, it is a lovely mint 9 card. Very, very nice, and it is going for quite a pretty penny. In fact, the person who pulled this card, who has decided to remain anonymous, I think a very smart choice on their part. Whenever you pull something big like this, you win the lottery, my suggestion, remain anonymous to avoid any unnecessary hassle in people trying to either steal your card or just convince you to give it to them for way cheaper than maybe what it's worth. But people are kind of blowing this card's price up and out of the water, which is not unexpected, but still kind of insane. In fact, there is somebody in Spain who has offered $2 million for the card, along with a trip to Europe to do a handoff, which absolutely blows my mind. And if I was the person who had pulled this card, I might be willing to take that person up on their offer if it was legitimate, because I would love to go to Spain. That sounds really fun. And I definitely would want to be selling this card because I could do a lot of really cool things with $2 million as opposed to keeping on to this. But I'm very curious, if you had been the lucky person to pull the majestic One Ring card from the collector set of Lord of the Rings for Magic the Gathering, would you keep it? Are you that hardcore of a Lord of the Rings fan that you would just not want to part with it because it was yours? You had the One Ring, a one-of-one version of it that no one else could possibly have? Or would you sell the thing? Or would you hold on to it and sell it later and try to keep raising that dollar amount of what it might actually be worth? I don't know. I think I would just try to sell it immediately to be done with it and just get what I could for it and let the person who bought it maybe make more off of it. But that's just me, and I'd love to know what you'd do with it down below. Last but not least, I want to talk about a board game campaign that is going to be over by the time this particular episode is out, but it's an Awaken Realms games, which means it's going to end up on retailer shelves more than likely, and I'm actually quite excited for it. It is Stalker, the board game. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the trailer.
Stalker, the board game, is the next major game from Awaken Realms. It is a 1 to 4 player, fully cooperative dungeon crawler game with a dark,
really like the look of the
branching
miniatures
storyline and innovative format of play. You can either experience 3 mission story campaigns combined into a full-scale storyline, or play one-off zone survival mode, created by Michael Oratz, author of This War of Mine, the board game. This unique campaign system brings the best of 2 worlds. A great immersive story and ease of bringing the game to the table.
Nice, I do like that. I am a big fan of campaign games.
Solo, or with a group of friends.
Oh, especially when they do fun things like binders and other like cool things to make the game just more engaged and
explore the dangerous world of one of the most intriguing universes of all time. Stalker, set in Chernobyl and full of mutants, anomalies, bandits, and secrets to discover. Choose your Stalker, each with unique skills, specialty, and a backstory. Then equip him for the mission. Will you pick a shotgun or an AK-74, Cossack vodka,
I like
or
the
a
tray
bunch
for
of
layout
bolts to
for
check
keeping things
anomalies?
organized. That
Use
is
your
always
strengths
nice.
and cooperate to complete various objectives, ranging from saving a fellow stalker from torture to destroying a secret lab. Choose your own style. Either sneak in and carefully mark all enemies, or come in guns blazing, alarming
That's my
everyone.
style. Sneaking
But
in.
remember, the zone has no mercy on you. Ooh. And your enemies, anomalies and mutants, are a force to be reckoned with. Sometimes it will destroy your plan, with toxic radioactive rain coming out of the blue.
Oh, that's cool.
Sometimes it will help you, when mutants will eliminate a bunch of bandits that were just about to kill you. Survive through deeply
I like that the
thematic
NPC
missions
characters
and
can fight each other and
whatever
not just
you
you.
can.
That's actually very fun.
Loot, bullets, or even mysterious artifacts. In the zone, everything can be sold, and preparation between the missions is a key to survival. Discover the secret of the mysterious transmission, similar to the one that happened just before the Chernobyl catastrophe, in a branching storyline.
Oh, I like
where
the
your
map,
choices are
actually.
expected
Do we
to
actually get a
change
compass?
the
What?
world's map. Survive the zone and live to tell the tale. Back the campaign now
they didn't-
and get a special GameFound edition of the game.
Okay, that is quite
Hey
cool.
guys, Martin here from Awaken Realms.
All right,
Yeah,
and
I'm
we're
super
gonna go
excited to
ahead
talk with you
and
about-
pause him because we're not gonna find out more about the game except through the GameFound campaign. Now, this is going to be over by the time this episode comes out, but like I said, Awaken Realm games do tend to go to store shelves later on down the line, which is where I'm hoping to particularly pick this one up because I think the Stalker board game looks really cool. I especially am a fan of Awaken Realms because, one, I just think that they have very good design aesthetics. I also think that they have just a very good presentation style when it comes to their board games. Their boxes are always well designed, the components are always very high quality, and the miniatures tend to be absolutely gorgeous. And in fact, I wanted to take a look down here at some of the miniatures, because something that Awaken Realms does that other board game companies have started to pick up as well, and maybe more of them have than I realize, but something that I know specifically Awaken Realms does is they tend to put a wash naturally over top of their miniatures before they send them out to you. So they're not pre-painted specifically, but they are pre-washed, which just gives them so much more life than the standard unpainted plastic miniatures that you might get normally in board games. And if you're anything like me, you tend to prioritize your painting when it comes to your war games, less so your board games. So having this alternative where they've pre-washed the miniatures for me, such a nice touch, and I really appreciate Awaken Realms for doing that. This game looks stunning. If you want to check it out, you might still be able to get your hands on the campaign through GameFound. Go check them out. I'll leave a link in the video description below, but I do think it'll be over, but they usually have late pledges. So if you do want to put in on it, maybe get it at the slightly better deal, you should absolutely try. Otherwise, it probably will end up on retail shelves whenever it launches or actually comes, releases and everything from the factory. I am looking forward to this. Let me know if you are too. That has been it for this week in hobby news. Now, I do want to remind everybody that starting at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be live painting up some more of my Leviathan fourths, specifically those beautiful, beautiful Tyranids. I've got a lot of them cleaned up, and we are ready to move on to the purple that I'm going to be applying to their carapaces, and I'm super pumped for this. So if you want to join me, maybe even work on your own projects while we're hanging out, feel free to do so at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. In the meantime, I do want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for making it so content like this can continue to happen. Without your guys' support, we would not be doing this, so thank you very, very much. I have been Angela, and I hope you have a wonderful hobby night.